Hi everyone, welcome to My Kind of People, episode 3. Today we have Mr. Jeyaraman Seenivasagam joining us today with a very interesting story. We just had a little bit of chit chat behind stage, okay, backstage, and a lot of interesting things he has to say. I can't wait till he tells us a bit of his stories on what happened, where he was, and what has happened over the his journey in the last years, right? So I'm going to bring him on board right now. Hello. Hi, Mr. Jaya. Can you hear me?
Hi, wait 1 second. Just give me a minute. Let me just come on to. Hi, hi, Cheryl.
How are you doing?
Good. I hope you are doing well too, and I can see with your smile that you definitely are doing well.
As usual, I'm always excited to have people on the show. My kind of
Okay,
people, I like to say, because
right.
I think your journey, a lot of people that we bring on the show, right? I really sit down and really source people out. I find your journey very, very interesting, very exciting. And sometimes when I read your posts, like I was telling you earlier, right, my mind is really imagining what the scene is like when you're telling your post. So today we just want to like go a little deeper, get a bit of insight into who you are, what you're all about, and what's so the exciting journey that you've gone through. You might not think it's exciting, but from coming from my side,
I
right?
don't. I don't. I looking back, I think it was so damn frustrating at the time.
So I can imagine, right? But if we talk about JR, right? Like, think of one person that knows you the best. One person, just think in your mind, right? One person that knows you the best. How would they describe you, right? Just think about it in your mind. And who would that person be, firstly? Who would that person be for you?
That
Who really knows
that
you?
person is a friend of mine who I left when I left Ipoh.
Uh-huh.
He's one guy who really knew me in and out. He's a Malay guy by the name of Jamal. So
Java. Okay.
Jamal,
Okay.
and we used to share nearly everything that we had going on in our lives.
So you're an Ipoh
I,
boy
I
then.
can't think what he would probably describe me for, but I think he liked me a lot because I was very attentive. I would spend time with him. I was non-judgmental. Whatever he says, I'm like, okay, that's it. So that
And when
was.
did you know Jama? Like what? How old were you back then?
I think I met him way before I became a trainer. I was about 30, I guess. I imagine.
I see.
So I
So
knew him for about 10 years. I mean, I was very close. Sometimes we spend talking like 5 hours and without realizing the time passing. Can you beat that? We'll be
so
sitting at we'll be sitting at the railway station, outside the railway station, just at the fountain or one of those benches and chit chat. And he said, "Hey, do you realize it's already night now?"
this was pre-COVID days, right? Where you could sit for hours and speak to someone. I
Oh
miss those
yeah,
days.
yeah. Before 2001, so it was Cold War.
Now you have to worry, like you don't know who has touched the table, you don't know what viruses are around.
Exactly. Yeah. And I had to cancel one training session recently after my first day. Second day is a 5 days course, and somebody text me saying that I just tested positive. Oh my God, there goes. You can cancel the whole thing.
I know, right? It's so frustrating. Sometimes you don't know what to expect, and you
Yeah,
want to go out there and you want to socialize because I mean that's how life is supposed to be, right? We're supposed to be interconnected. We're supposed to have people around us. I think that's how life was meant to be. But with COVID, things have kind of taken a turn.
it's
In
interesting, right? Cheryl, they said last time, they said, don't mix around with negative people.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Then now they say, don't
Don't
mix with
mix
the
around
positive.
with positive people. Exactly right. What a turn around. Now to be negative is a good thing. Like how did that happen? I think that all the young people listening in, right, will think of a meme to come up with in order to just take what you just said, right, about being positive and being negative
You
right
come
now.
now avoid people. No more whether positive or negative. Avoid at all costs.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Like today was graduation in campus, and part of me wants to go and join the graduation, the physical part, and then I'm like, yeah, but I got like two young kids at home. Maybe I shouldn't really go and put myself out there in case I bring back things I shouldn't be bringing back. You don't know. You're like fighting an invisible enemy out there, right?
Right? Yeah, yeah. It's worse than the war. People say the First World War, Second World War, but at least the planes are flying above you. You can go and hide somewhere. But here,
Nowhere to
they're
hide,
totally
right?
invisible.
So Jaya,
Tell
let's
me.
let's get to the interesting part that I've been really like dying to know, right? Talk to me about Jaya growing up, right? Like where did Jaya grow up? And like give a mental picture to us, like a visual image, right? Like where were you at that point of time? How old were you? As far back as you can remember, right? Growing up. What was the
Okay,
environment like?
I don't know if people can actually visualize this, but probably you being a visual person, you could. I was born in a village of 5 houses at home in my ancestral home.
Mm-hmm.
To put things in perspective, I was born in India, not in Malaysia. So,
Uh,
you have to probably imagine how a village with with totally no amenities. We didn't have any running water, no electricity. We used to use a lantern for the lamp, lantern, and we didn't have toilets. And if you had a bicycle, you are considered rich in those days in my village. So we had a bicycle, and we had two bullock carts.
so that means you were very rich.
Yeah. No, and we were landowners. I mean, mom was
Yeah.
Tamil Pannakara. I don't know whether you know. Pannakara means you are the landlord. My mom was the landlord. We had paddy fields, lots of paddy fields. A lot of people used to come to our house to work, and food was always there. I mean, it was plentiful in that sense, but it was still a very, very traditional family. And when I was 5 years old, I went to school in where there was only one room, and there was the classroom. I had to walk like 3 kilometers with my sister, and we'll carry our lunch in a small pail-like thing, where you put in the curd rice and some pickles, and you take that, and that's for lunch. And because there's no canteen whatsoever, there are no
Mm-hmm.
shops for that. You go walk, and then you walk back. And and when I was 6, so you can imagine the nearest bus would be about 3 kilometers away. It comes about 3 hours once. You miss it, you wait for another 3 hours. That's it. And we were drinking from a big pond. I would say a kind of a lake.
Mm-hmm.
That's the
Mm-hmm.
water we drink. We drank, and none of us fell sick, because our antibodies were also that strong. You get what I'm saying? So we had this natural immunity. So we didn't have to take the booster.
Back then, you mean, or right now?
That time itself. We were fully boosted. Then when I was 6, I came to Malaysia, and I landed in Penang, Penang Island. Penang, that was the port, right? And you know how long was my journey? 6 days on the ship.
Abi,
Uh,
Abi says, I can imagine those days. Peaceful it must have been. Abi is actually from India. Abi's from India.
really? Okay, right. So she probably can relate to what I'm
Which
saying.
which part of India is this, yeah?
I am from a place called Karaikuri. Not exactly Karaikuri. Karaikuri was a big city.
Yeah.
We were like 7 kilometers away from one of those tiny, tiny, tiny villages. You know, Imagine a village with 5 houses, only five. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where I grew up on. And when I came to Malaysia, it took me 6 days on the ship, not with my dad. My dad was doing business in one of the small towns in Perak called Malim Nawa. I don't think you know where it is.
I know. I'm from Perak. I'm
Yeah,
a
yeah, okay,
Perak.
But those who are not from Perak, they probably don't know where Malim Nawa is.
Malimnawa. Yeah, you have to like cross it because you used to drive from I just drive from my hometown in Teluk Intan to Penang. So you pass all the small towns on the way.
Oh, yes, yes, you do. Correct.
Yeah, yeah.
If you're going to, you have to pass it before you, after Kampa, right? If you know Kampung, Kampung is a
Yes.
big town. So that is where I moved to, and I was brought in by I was who accompanied me was an uncle who I didn't really know well. So when we got off from or got down from the ship, my dad came to meet me at the harbor. I didn't recognize my dad because I haven't seen him for years. Because those days, you know how it is, right? They only come once every 5 years. So I didn't, and I ran away from my dad. I said, who is this man?
Who are you?
Who are you? He said, oh, I'm your father. I said, father, really? Like, but they had to like grab me and take me away, and so that's how it was. And I didn't go to kindergarten, so I had no knowledge of English when I was in standard one. And I went to there was no iron in my house, there was no fan, nothing. I never ironed my shirt, so I went. And there was this teacher. Fortunately, she was a Tamil teacher, my class teacher in standard one. She came and said, "What's your name?" I just stared at her, gave a blank look. Can you imagine somebody in standard one don't know how to answer? What's your name? I said, she said, "உன் பேர் என்ன?" In Tamil, I said, "Oh, Jeyaraman." Next time people say, "What's your name?" Say that. Okay, teacher. And can you imagine my confidence level because all the kids were teasing me, the way I dress, the way I was too simple. I don't speak English, and then would you believe me? In Form Three, I was the top in English, and my essay was read in class as an exemplary essay. I was like, but
That
to
must
be
have been like wow, right?
yeah, but then of course to put things in perspective, my dad had a bookshop and newspapers and storybooks and comics, especially comics was my favorite. I used to read what people watch as Batman and all the Marvel movies now was for me was Marvel comics.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
grew up. I literally grew up on comics, if I may say that.
Hmm, hmm.
That really improved my language, especially English. And I went through a lot of hard times. There was one man who used to come and because my uncle used to complain about me, he would come and slap me and ask me to do uki on the road.
In
Get out
Malaysia,
of
we
it.
call it ketok ketampi. I mean, when we was in
Yeah,
school.
yeah, and I was subjected to that. And can you imagine all those took a toll on my confidence level.
Yeah, yeah. They make you stand outside the classroom or in front of everybody and do it, right?
Yeah, not in school. This was somebody who come to my shop and used to when my dad was not around, he used to even treat me
Bully
like
you.
bully me literally because my uncle was I don't know whether to call him an uncle or not, but he was my uncle, no choice. The kid, we could be a little bit naughty. He'll go and complain to
Yeah,
this man,
yeah.
ask me to do all kinds of crazy things. And then, and the worst of all was, I think I mentioned to you just now when I was in standard six, my class teacher instructed me, he said, "Come here, boy." And he said, "Can you go to Mr. Ui's class and find out when is the next history test?" But when she mentioned Mr. Ui, I began to shiver because you know why? Sure, he was our history teacher and also our discipline master. And the whole school was terrified by him.
Usually you
And there I
avoid the
was,
discipline teachers, right? Far away. Stay,
yeah,
stay far away.
and this man was damn strict. He was fierce. I won't say strict, fierce is the word. And he always had his cane whenever he walked around. And even the mention of his name would make a small kid piss in his pants, if you know what I mean. And here I was supposed to go and talk to him. I was like, oh my god! And finally I managed to see him, and I mumbled something. I said, "Sir, I think my teacher asked me to and he barked at me. What are you shouting? What are you talking about? You mumbling idiot!" He said, I said, I really felt, why am I alive now? Why does it? Because there's all the standard 6A kids were giggling at me because I was made a fool. You know how kids, right?
Mm, they're
Sadist
the worst
kids.
sometimes. Kids can be the most mean. When it comes to being mean, they can
Exactly.
be really mean.
And there was, that broke me down. It's probably you can say the last straw that destroyed my confidence. And I thought to myself, I'm never going to live through this, and I'm going to survive, and I'm not going to change. And anyway, I became literally a mumbling idiot. And I even developed a disease which I like to say is called a Hugo disease. You know what's a Hugo disease, Cheryl? Is when in class you have a lecturer asking you a question and you know the answer. You look at a boy or girl next to you and say, "You go now." I say that's, that's called the
No, no.
Hugo
Now I get the humor part of you, Jaya. You go.
You
Hey,
go.
oh my God. I hope my students are not listening in now. They're going to get a tip now and they're going to use that. You go. Every time I ask them something, they'll say, you go. It's just
Oh
that it's
yeah,
online now, so they can't do that. They can't do that, online, right?
right. And I will pretend to be busy writing when I'm not, so that you don't make eye contact with the lecturer. You know this strategy. Your students will be getting tips here now.
Jaya, it doesn't work anymore, Jaya. Like if you're sitting in
Me?
my class, when you don't make eye
Uh-huh.
contact, that's the person I'll call. We have
then,
learned, yeah. We look for
then
those who are, you say, anyone want to say anything? We'll look for the one who's not paying attention and pretending like they're not here. Like, okay, Jaya, would you like to?
you're
We've
a
learned.
smart you're a smart one, right? Okay. No, we also do that in training, don't we?
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
when someone is a little like nodding, I always tell people, I always tell trainers is people in your audience not for two reasons. One, because don't think just because they're nodding, they're agreeing with you.
Correct. They're like, mm.
I mean, they could be falling asleep. They could be so. So don't get too excited just because people nod. People nod for two reasons. And anyway, so that was my little journey. And what happened was I became so introverted. And I think I mentioned to you that something happened when I was in Form 6. I went to lower
But Jaya,
6.
when you talk about being introverted, right? So you're saying that that moment when your teacher actually s- behaved or reacted in that manner to you made you introverted. So you feel that you were not introverted before that, like growing up.
I I believe I was already introverted in naturally. I was that was my nature, but this really
Like pushed it
made
down.
it worse. Aggravated the whole thing and made me like, oh no, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm not going to volunteer for anything. I would rather, take the back seat for anything that happens around me. I never voiced out. That's how I was. And when I went to Form 6, Ipoh for me was the big bad city for me anyway. So from Malim now, of course, Ipoh was like so big, right? So when I
Yeah,
went to
yeah.
Ipoh in lower 6, kids they can rag students,
Mm,
but
yeah.
usually girls get ragged by or bullied by boys. Here it was the other way around. Two
Mm.
girls actually ragged me
So you got
because
bullied by girls, two girls, and how old were they?
how were they? They were also Form 6 girls,
So
and but
wait,
because
let me ask you this question: which school was this?
it was a private school called Methodist High School.
So
You
this
know,
is like a fully co-ed school or only Form 6? Because I know some of these Methodist schools only Form 6 has girls. If not, it's like
this, if I'm not mistaken, I can't really recall because I only did my Form 6 there.
okay, yeah.
I think it was quite throughout. It's a private school anyway. It was
Okay.
quite, yeah. Uh, it's mainly for students who couldn't get into government schools to do Form 6,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
or those who want to repeat their Form 5s, the SPM.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah.
made so you don't find the Form 1 to Form 3, Form 4 there, maybe. So it was that kind of school. So I was there, and these girls who obviously from some convent and who were, I don't know, they were there. They,
They're
they,
like
they
the
saw me,
mean girls.
mean girls. Yeah, they saw me and say, hey, they kind of look on their eyes like, hey, come on.
And what year was this? I'm so curious that girls were so like, what
So
year was this?
advanced then. Actually, I tell you, people think that, oh, we are in modern times. Things like this happened probably even 200-300 years ago. I mean, if you look at the
Yeah,
Bible,
yeah. It's just that there's no social media to put it out there, right?
exactly. I mean, things that happened then could be worse than what's happening now. You
Correct.
know, right?
Correct,
What,
correct.
whatever we say, oh, times are bad. Everything is become, crime. Come on.
Just we didn't know about it back then, right?
Exactly. Yeah, we have to refer to the Gita or the Quran or the Bible. I mean, it goes that far back. Anyway, so these two girls they said one on each side, and they started abusing me verbally. And I could see the smug look on their faces, like, see, I like, don't ask me to tell you what they said to me. It's something that we cannot discuss. They were using to put it words that should not be said. Let's put it. And they were just like looking at my reaction and seeing, oh, okay, let's see how this kid from the village is able to cope with this. And I was like, and then
And you
I
were
knew
on your
they're having
own.
fun. I don't think they're bad girls, are they? Like they just like bully.
They found someone, a target that they felt they
Exactly.
could.
Can you imagine if now I say if anybody you want that slap,
Yeah, I can
but
imagine now if you were to see them or they were to see you and go like, "Hey, isn't that boy we bullied? Oh my God! Like, look at him. He's standing up there. Is that the same person? What happened?"
my friends tell me, did you ever meet Mr. Uy, my discipline
Yeah,
master?
yeah.
And did you have a chance to talk to him? I said, well, I don't. I don't know if he's still around, but they tell me you got a lot to thank him for. Because you see, what happened was
Mr.
after
Uy,
Mr. Uy, yeah,
Mr. Uy, if you're
bald,
listening,
yeah, he was my history teacher. So he was a bald man, tall, well built, and
yeah,
the kind of discipline masters. I'm sure you can imagine how they are. Mean looking, ruthless. Yeah,
they
you
try to
can put
push you
all
in
those
your
words to them.
face. Yeah, yeah.
And when I went on to college, when I was doing my accounting, that is when I would say 180 degrees change took place. People always ask me the question, what happened
Yeah, what was
from
that?
that trigger, or that there must be. I always tell people, if you change that, you don't normally sit down and say, I think
Oh,
I
look
should
at
change.
yeah. There were
There must
moments.
be something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
See, a lecturer of mine saw me. He said, how come you're such a timid person? I said, I don't know, sir. I guess I'm just born this way. He said, don't be silly. Nobody is born timid or shy or lacking confidence.
Correct.
So I said, really? Yeah. He said, tell you, why don't you read this book? He gave me Zig Ziglar, See You at the Top. You
Mm.
know Zig Ziglar, right? I mean, it's one of those great authors. I heard of Zig Ziglar before, but I never read his book. So I thought, okay, what the heck? And I turned the first page, and you know what he said? This is the end. I thought, what a weird book. It's just the beginning, and he says the end. And I turned the next page, and that's when I really got it. He said, are you shy? Are you introverted? Do you lack confidence? Do you avoid talking to people? I'm like, how
Is
does
he
this guy
talking
know
to
so much
me?
about me? I mean, like, okay,
This
then
book is for me. It's written for you.
exactly right. He said, then you need this book. And he said, this is the end of the old you. So that's interesting. And he gave like 13 steps to a better personality and having a better confidence. One of it, he said, learn to become a better communicator, join any public speaking club. That's when after a few years after I joined the Toastmasters club, I'm sure you know the Toastmasters,
Yes, yes.
where we can eat toast bread. Or we toast wine. You don't have wine or bread there,
Yeah.
but you get to polish your speaking skills on it. And there I was. I joined the club, and of course, he also said in the book, every day. One more, he said, do the thing you fear, and your fear will disappear.
Mm.
I never raised my hand in class. Now I was beginning to do that. I thought, oh, I didn't die of a heart attack. And the lecturers didn't call me stupid or idiot for giving the wrong answer. Say, oh, okay, not bad.
It wasn't as bad as you thought, right?
Exactly. Yeah. In life, a lot of things, sometimes we hold ourselves back
Yeah, yeah.
because the reality is not as bad as we think it is.
Yeah, yeah. And what
And I,
happened in the past is not it's not the definite thing of how it's always going to be. Like what your teacher said, it's not what another teacher is going to say. It's not what someone else is going to say in the future, right?
correct,
But
correct.
we are so bent on that moment that happened before, right?
Because it's emotional, right?
Yeah,
And
very.
because it impacted so much and it's gone through the subconscious level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's not conscious now. It's really because it's income. And the thing is, over the years, I probably made it worse myself. Because we replay that, and it becomes like a ghost haunting me. Those words, of because and it's a person of authority tells you that we tend to believe it.
Correct. Must be true,
Yeah,
right? It's my
correct.
teacher who told me that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And who am I to dispute that? That's why sometimes we don't realize the impact our words could have on somebody's life.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. I always
Be
say
very
a
careful.
teacher, especially, right? A teacher can make or break a student. So we
Yeah,
have to be very careful. And these days, a lot of people are teachers, not just the teachers in university or schools. A lot of people are teachers in different professions. So what you
yeah,
say is really important. You can
yeah,
break someone's, like you said, you break your spirit, right? And it's very
correct.
hard to go from there.
Yeah, I am very fortunate, Cheryl, that uh, I had someone to guide me along. And the book itself, it was a turning point, and that
Mhm.
was the turning point. But of course, a few people I met along the way, they also encouraged me, say, hey, you should try this, do that. And would you believe me that within 6 or 7 years after I joined the Toastmasters Club, I was taking part in a competition in Shangri-La, Penang. It was called the Articulate Speech Contest, where I was competing with another 7 other people, and there's
Wait,
only one winner.
the name of the competition was the Articulate. Is
Speech
it?
contest. Yeah,
Wow. Just that word itself must have given you, like, must have elevated you, right? Like me, someone who called me mumbling. This was like your,
exactly. And I was very fortunate because I had a mentor whom I really believed in. I trusted him. I respected him. He was a millionaire. Not just he was a millionaire, he was a big time businessman. He was also my guide. I didn't pay him anything. It was not like a coach, I paid him. But he happened to be in the same Toastmasters club and he will always advise me. And in that particular competition, we were having dinner at the same table. And he said, Jaya, that contest is a bit weird, You're given a script and you're supposed to read out the script with emotions and your voice. And I was very fortunate, Cheryl. You know why? I got Martin Luther King Jr.'s emancipation speech. I have
mm,
a dream. You know
wow.
that yeah, and that is my favorite speech. And when you draw lots, I got like, so I said, okay. And if you know that speech was given in front of 250,000 people at Madison Square, New York.
Yeah. Do you
And
want to give us
here
do you want to give us an encore?
I'm going to, yeah. It so one of those lines I still remember is, I have a dream that one day my 4 little children will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. So, you know what I did? Peter advised me, Peter, my mentor, said, go to the bathroom, the toilet in Shangri-La. Shangri-La is a huge toilet
Mm-hmm.
full of mirrors. So I stood there and I told myself, hey, tonight you're not Jeyaraman, but you're Martin Luther King Jr. Because I told myself I've got a color for it anyway. Martin Luther King. So I stood there in front of the mirror and practiced, like. And my mentor said, this uh, competition does not require body language. They don't care. Only work on your voice. So I went and stood and, I articulated. And then when my turn came, I went on the stage and I presented. And the last line of that speech is, as the old Negro saying goes, free at last. free at last. God Almighty, free at last. Of course, I was like speaking in a much higher tone.
Yeah.
And when the results were about to be announced, people were shaking hands to say, I said, don't go. Wait for the results. They sort of predicted. And true enough, they announced my name. And as I walked onto the stage, guess who was there to give me the trophy? Chief Minister of Penang at the time, Tan Sri Kosukun.
Kau sukun ya.
And he gave me the trophy, can you imagine, for the Chief Minister. And he said, you know why you won? I said, don't know, Tan Sri. He said, you spoke with emotions. He said, keep it up. At that moment, something weird happened in my mind. Mr. Uy, you're wrong. I'm not a mumbling idiot anymore. And that was like one circle.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
started in when I was in standard 6, I had to go through all these events
My gosh.
to get to. And then, it gave me the sort of confidence to say, okay, I can take on the world. Come, boleh. I've licked this confidence issue. Okay lah.
That must have
Then I
opened up the floodgates, right?
exactly, and it also not just about me. And I was thinking after that, I was thinking, isn't it interesting what we human beings can achieve? It's not, as you rightly say, it's not what happened in the past. It's not
Mm-hmm.
where we are. It's where we can go moving forward.
Yeah, yeah.
The, that was my little journey. But becoming a trainer is, I'm writing a book now called The Accidental Trainer because I did not plan.
Yeah.
I didn't think of myself as trainer material. I still was a little bit of introverted. I said, but one thing, Cheryl, I used to really admire people on stage who could speak, and I thought they were especially gifted people by God.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
If you know what I mean, I don't know
I
if you
can
had this.
totally relate. I also sometimes look at these people, I'm like, my God, they're like really good. Like, how are they able to command everyone's attention, thousands of people?
Exactly. And I thought, oh my God. And especially, I used to see some of those leaders, business leaders like Rich DeVos, if you know Amway's co-founder, Richard M. DeVos. I used to listen to his cassettes, and I said, how can this man speak so well? And his humor was so natural. And I said, who are these people, man? But maybe because of that, when the opportunity presented itself in 1996, someone called me and said, Polytechnic Nkoma, Cheryl?
Yeah, 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 I do.
I got a call, a random call, and they spoke in Malay. They said, can you come and give us a talk on mind mapping, which is a skill I learned in college as well to pass my exams. Um, and even that also, anyway, that I learned it because I thought I'm never going to pass my law paper in accounting, and I needed some help. I found a book
Needed
called
help,
The
yeah.
Memory Book. I found a book called The Memory Book in my college library. I read it, and that helped me to pass my exam. So I became very excited about all the mind skills that are around and the people research that the scientists have done about the brain. And I started researching, and I started learning about mind mapping, memory, and all those various skills. And somebody heard about this and gave my name to Polytechnic without even my permission or without consulting me. I'm getting this call. So I ended up doing a 1 hour presentation, 1996 October. No PowerPoint, only
Yeah,
having
time
if
before
you know the
PowerPoint, right?
if you know the OHP
Yes.
transparency, and someone and someone did those transparencies because I don't know what transparencies were, and they helped me to draw and do this, and I kept it, and I went and stood literally shivering in front of 50 college kids. College kids spend with the toughest audience.
Oh yes,
But
oh yes. They're like, what are you going to teach us now?
that is one, and you make one wrong mistake, and they go ha 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 ha, and everybody join in. If you know what I mean, it happened to me. Well, but I literally was shivering. I was luckily they had a lectern because they can't see my knees knocking actually. And then I thought, okay, since I got my transparencies, we all big mouth, right? We post, so you can tell your friend, I did a presentation in Polytechnic. He said, really? Why didn't you do for my tuition center? I shouldn't have told that. But anyway, people invite
Bristle
you.
is
So,
fun.
yeah. So free lah, no, it's not. I'm not a professional. We're going around talking, and then one school invited me. It's 1997, about 1 year since I first started. In that school, things changed. You know what? They gave me a small ang pao. I was speaking of free, yeah? And here they said, now take this little token from us. What's it about? I said, just take lah. So I went home and I checked. Guess how much there was there? 50 ringgit. Was I disappointed? I was excited. I said, my
Yeah,
God,
it's like you're giving me money for
exactly.
that's just
This,
something I do naturally.
I'm going around just sharing and suddenly do so. And I thought, okay, this is interesting. So at the time, I was giving some tuition and doing some insurance. So I slowly got excited about this and I started giving talks more and more. I didn't care whether people paid me, don't pay me, also never mind. Uh, but it really polished me up. And in
Mm-hmm.
2001, I came to KL. That means 4 years since I gave my first presentation. And again, because my mentor, Peter, remember I told Peter,
Yeah.
he said, Jaya, if you want to do well in as a trainer, Ipoh is not for you. Go to KL. And you know what happened in KL? The incident I tell people, they said it inspired them. You see, what happened is, I won't tell you this company like, because the company still exists. Peter called up the company and said, I'm going to send this fella over. You take him under your wings, okay? He's big time trainer. At that time he was like God to me. Because he was not one of, he was the trainer in the country. So I say, oh, I can't tell you the name. And he said, okay, and he interviewed me and he took all my transparencies, no problem. He said, can I take your transparency? He said, take it, lah. You're going to be a future's boss. And they made copies in their company. I said, okay, bring your notes. Take it. They made copies. He said, how are you going to work for me from Ipoh? I said, no problem, boss. I'm going to relocate to KL. That is where my life is going to be. So I went home, went back to Ipoh, took a lorry, brought the family, wife, 3 kids, moved to a place here, tripled the rent anyway from Ipoh.
Mm.
Waited for my letter of appointment, Cheryl. Would you believe it? It never came. And then,
And you had given everything. Hi.
exactly. And I have burned my bridges, so to speak. I have left Ipoh,
Yeah, yeah,
given
yeah.
up the house. Because,
Uprooted everything, right?
for me, it was like the big city,
Yeah.
of future,
Opportunities.
like opportunities. And
Yes,
little
yes.
realized that this is going to really like bricks over me, like a wall is going to fall over me, kind of thing. So when I called up the company about a month waiting for the letter, I said it should have come by now, right? So I call up. Guess what? The lady on the other end said, Dato told me that we are not hiring anybody now. I said, what? I came for the interview. Yeah, yeah, yeah. He told me to tell you that. Pass the message to you.
And
He
did you
said,
ask about your material?
no, it's not a big deal. I was not like, I, I was not Anthony Robbins. I was not. No, I was like, what's the big deal? I mean, take lah, that kind of
Yeah
thing.
lah, you can't be me.
No, no, not that. I mean, I was a nobody. I mean, didn't think of myself as
Yeah,
some
yeah.
great trainer with some very specialized knowledge, that kind of thing. I said, okay, you want to take that? Because most of the things I probably take from some books and put it
Yeah.
together. I just collated.
Nothing new under the sun. Yeah.
I was just a curator, right? I was not. I
Correct.
was not an inventor of. I mean, you probably can find the books. I didn't think of much about it, but now my friends told me you should not let it go. I said, okay, never mind. But um, when she told me that, immediately I called Peter. I said, Peter, this is what happened. Guess what? Surely you'll never guess what Peter told me. Peter, my mentor in Ipoh, I was expecting him to say, really? Let me call him now. And no, Peter's a very cool guy. He took the phone and he said, really? Is that what happened? I said, yeah. You know that? You should. And very calmly, what he said? Jaya, I think God has different plans for you. I don't know about you, Cheryl. It's, the Malay, they say you jatuh di, what do you call, timber,
Di
tangga.
timpa tangga. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I am very like on the ground. I didn't
And
get the
then
job.
you're telling me it's
And
okay.
yeah, yeah, God has given. I felt like asking, can you please ask God what plans He has for me?
Yeah, like give it to me in writing, can or not, so I know what's going on.
Exactly. I don't, but Cheryl, that was one of the best things that happened to me. Seriously, can you imagine? I might still be working for the guy today. You know what? I have been to 9 countries. I've trained more than 78,000 people face to face. I've trained ex-ministers. I have trained PhD holders, so many PhD holders. People flew in from different parts of the world to attend my program. I've been invited to China, of all places. I don't speak Mandarin, although I speak Cantonese. So, I tell people, it's interesting. I come from India. I'm in Malaysia. I'm an Indian. I speak Cantonese. Right. No, no, not because of any big deal. My village, I told you where I grew up, that
Yeah, yeah.
small town, Malinawan. My neighbors are all Chinese. So,
Yeah,
I
all Chinese.
immersed in
Correct.
that. But would you believe I've given a 20 minutes presentation totally in Cantonese before? Yeah, I had. And you know what the topic is? The importance of learning English.
That's a good one. That's a nice one. But Jaya, I have to ask you this. I just have to ask you this. I know, when we're moving forward in life, we shouldn't look at the back, right? But I just have to. Have you ever, since that day, had, like, I mean, because you're in that same industry, right? Ever met these people before? Do they know it
Oh,
was you?
what do you mean, man? This person, the big boss, has sat in my seminar twice.
Does
And you
he
know
know
what he
it's
sent?
you?
You know what he sent me the message? I think 1 or 2 years ago. You are a blessing to the training industry, Jay.
Aha.
Ah, really?
But does he
And
remember what he did to you?
that's exact the same question I asked my friends. Because they know the story. They say, and I think he does. You know why? I put a post in Facebook. He always comments on my Facebook post. Usually he will like praise me like you this and that. And this post where I wrote, I came to KL, I was interviewed by a big company. It's a rather long post lah, and they didn't accept me. I got like I think a 200 odd comments for that particular post, and I scrolled through all the comments. He didn't comment at all. Didn't even like it. He didn't like all my posts. That post he didn't like it, and I was rejected. I was told I was not good enough for the company. I wrote there lah. And today I have been to 9 countries and I have trained, so many thousand people. I'm so happy. People will say, "Good for you," that kind of thing. Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you're
Like,
lucky. You're lucky you didn't get that
well-being,
job
all
and all.
stuff. Yeah, yeah.
And you've proven yourself. That kind of comments. And I was looking at for the first comment, he didn't give anything. So I thought, okay, lah. So anyway, I'm just guessing. Maybe he missed my post. I don't know. And my friends said, "How can he not?" And at one event, he was sitting there, and I acknowledged him. I said, "Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you one of my great idols in this industry is sitting in this audience. I'm so honored." Why put people down? I said, "That is so and so." And people turned back. They didn't quite recognize him because he's in the current generation. He's like, okay, like one of those senior trainers, but not. And he come and thank me. He said, "Oh, thank you, Ajay. You acknowledge." I said, "Sure, why not? I should, right?" I said, "You have been always my idols. We have been looking up to you. You're a giant in the industry. People, I don't know if I can ever reach your position. And he said, "You're doing very well. I'm proud of you. Thank you." But I always never forget. I will never forget. You
I
know.
think that's a really important story, right? Because sometimes if we live by other people's measurement of who we are and we allow that to stop us in our tracks, we'll never become what we're meant to be.
And
And
you know
that's
something, Cheryl? People who have worked for him, when I told them this story, you know what they tell me? You're very lucky, Jay. So really? Yes. That person, they are not very good uh, bosses.
people developers, yeah.
And they told me one thing: the likelihood of not him engaging you could be because you could have been a threat to him. I said, okay, I didn't see it that way. He said, yeah. Then I think, okay, if this
Yeah.
guy is already so good, he has already developed his material, he's already speaking. What if he were to come under my wing, and what if he overtakes me? I don't know. Possibility. I mean, we never know. I never asked him. Okay. That's part of my journey. I had to go through that, I guess. Yeah.
But I think it was necessary to build you to who you are today. If not, you probably won't even be half of what you are right
It,
now.
yeah. Looking back now, what Peter told me 20 years ago, it was in 2001, makes a whole lot of sense,
Hmm.
isn't it? Because he said God has different plans for you. But I suppose I had to wait till I see the
Time.
plans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the hardest part, I think, right? Waiting. You're like, when,
Thanks.
when?
Well, let me say thanks to you. Thanks. Never forget the person. Never
Yeah.
forget to thank someone who's been there for you, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Peter is no more around. I mean, he passed on a few years back, but his lessons I will never forget. In my training, I even remember his words to me verbatim. Let me give you something that has guided me and helped me. What he taught me. He said, Jaya, do you know something? He said, if you study a subject that you're passionate about, 1 hour a day religiously, that's the word exactly. You said religiously. In 5 years' time, you will be a national authority on the subject. And you know something, Cheryl, it has come to pass to me as well. You know why? In 2016, I was invited to speak at the EBRO conference, which stands for International Brain Research Organization. And I
Mm.
am not a PhD holder, nor am I a master degree holder in the mind. And I was speaking to a lot of PhD holders on the subject of the mind and how it works. Because of what Peter told me, amount of knowledge I've gathered like 15, 20 years ago, people recognized and called me, and they didn't pay me a single cent. I tell people at the conference I had to pay my own toll and petrol to go to UPM to speak at the conference. But in my whole speaking career, that
Yeah.
is a biggest feather in my cap.
Yeah. Yeah.
I always tell trainers, if you
Okay.
can have that kind of passion for your subject, I don't care whether you pay me. If you honor me, ask me to share, I'm happy to share. That's what it is.
So he said, if you study a subject you're passionate about, 1 hour a day religiously, in 5 years' time, you will be a national
National authority. National
national
authority.
authority.
Not a national expert, national authority.
Authority.
The thing is,
Wow.
I mean, those words
Powerful.
are really powerful, isn't it? I mean, he didn't say you'll be damn good in the country, you'll be one of the top in the country. But he said national authority. That means like nobody can shake you.
Yeah. 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 Not just expert, but authority. It means you
Yeah,
know it like at the back of your hand.
exactly. I mean, like nobody can come and touch you, man. Come on. And at first I thought like, come on, cannot be. People study in university for so many years, so many hours. He said, no, you try that. He challenged me.
Because one
You know,
hour a day is many hours, if you look
yeah,
at it.
I did count the calculations. It comes to about 1,800 plus hours. You know what I mean? But can you imagine? No, this is what I say. Be an inch wide and a mile deep.
Mm,
That means you specialize in a particular area, and your knowledge is. Can you imagine 1 mile deep? People can ask you any question, any angle. Ask me. So I said, people come into training. I said, do you have something like this? That's something that you can solidly say, I really know this subject. Not superficially.
but deep.
I have I have taken a dive deep down to the bottom of the ocean in this subject. That's what uh, I tell people. Of course, you don't have to learn about the mind. Like today, I had a session on the mind as well, was speed reading. And the people, I told them, I said, do you see me reading notes? They said no. Do you know I can go on speaking like this for the next 5 days about just the mind? They said we
Yeah,
can see that. And I said, you can
yeah.
ask me any question. And they're so excited. They kept saying, okay, ask this. What is that? What is a brain cell? How does it work? And I kind of think like, Because I think everybody should have this knowledge about how the mind works. Not so much of okay, like psychology is important, but for me, skills of learning, for example,
Yeah,
accelerated learning, how you master a subject.
it
That's what
develops.
I think. Yeah. So that is that's something that I have been intrigued lah, about how the mind works. Because right, uh, what makes us different from all the creatures in the animal kingdom is
Yeah,
our
our
ability
belief.
to reason, ability to learn, ability to speak, ability to read and write. So why not learn about it? Why not learn how your brain actually works when this process is taking place?
Yeah, yeah. And if you can master it, can you imagine? That's why I say a lot of people don't know. I mean, tapping into our brain, right? Tapping to know how it works, tapping into us, you. Most of us don't know what it is. We don't know how to
Right.
operate our own manual, right? So how can you utilize the gifts you've been given, the talents that you have, if you don't know how, you've not even read your manual. It's like your phone manual. Most of us don't even open it to read it, and then we wonder why we don't know how it operates. We only know a
Exactly.
small function.
Correct. And the best part is the brain doesn't come with a manual, operating manual. And that's why some people they make a joke about it. You say, I'm only using 2% of my brain capacity. I said, you're proud about it, though.
Yeah, 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 you're right.
I
We're
said,
like, oh, I'm only using that. Where's the other percentage? Why can't I tap that, right?
exactly. Why don't you learn how to tap that as well? Why don't you go into exploring what other possibilities that can be there?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And like for example, that has helped me to branch into like Vedic maths, for example. I give you a quick Vedic maths, huh? Cheryl, huh? If a child who is, let's say, 10 years old or 8 years old comes to you and say, teacher, what is 8 times 9? You say 8 times 9, you don't know. 1 times 8 is 8, 2 times. You say, yeah, apa dia ganti? But I say, okay, never mind. You just do this 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You do it with me, Cheryl. Try it with me. Say 6,
6,
7,
7,
8,
8,
9,
9,
10.
10.
Now give me a number between 6 and 10, any number.
6 and 10.
Between 6 and 10, any number.
8.
So take your hand, do this with me. Maybe, our viewers can also try this, right? 6, 7, 8.
6, 7, 8.
On one hand, not two hands. 6, 7, 8. And give me another number between 6 and 8.
6.
Okay, 6. Now count the open fingers. How many do we have altogether?
4.
4, right? So that becomes 40, remember? Huh? That's the
40.
first 4. Okay. How many fingers are closed here? Here. How many fingers are closed here?
4.
And how many fingers are closed here?
2.
What is 4 times 2?
8.
So that is 4 and 8. So the answer is 48. Isn't 6 times 8 48? Can you see that? Let's try 7 times 7. 6, 7. 6, 7. 4 fingers are open. 3 times 3 is 9. So 49. And, there are many, many, many shortcuts like this. I get just so excited when I go and learn this and I like share with the kids, all the parents, and the parents go, you can do that.
Yeah, actually, I mean, if only we knew how to tap into those things, it will become easy. Like maths for me, I shied away from maths, and I know a lot of communication students do that as well. We run away from maths because we fear it, right? And
Yeah.
it's tough. You just don't get it. You just don't get it. And sometimes you meet someone who goes like, opens your mind to it, or even maths or history or anything like that, and they have the ability, like, I mean, history, right, used to be the most boring subject I can even think of. But I had a teacher. He has your gift. He can tell stories,
Ah,
and I can still remember in form 2, like the story he told me back then, like the way he told the story. Like sometimes you need something to kind of capture you and anchor you on it, right? Like how does it work? So it no longer becomes about calculation anymore. And like what you were doing is like fun as well. Like I'm using
exactly.
hands. It becomes something you're making and doing. you know.
Mm, mm.
Fish says it's amazing. She's also trying it there.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's nice. Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
there are a
So
lot more. There are a lot more shortcuts like that. But this is the easiest one, right?
yeah, yeah. We are towards the end of the show. I can't believe
Yeah.
that, we've just touched the surface. I think we need to bring you back. But I want to end this with something that I've seen on your post, right? And I think
Mm,
it has a lot to do with what you have spoken about today as well, right? You posted in one of your posts and you said your attitude is your brand. Uh,
yeah.
can you share with us why you said that your attitude is your brand and how does that relate to you?
You see, when you say you're going to do something and you don't do it,
Mhm.
you could be a big name in whatever you think, or you think you're a big name, you think you're a great person, you think you're very popular and all this. But you're actually giving people an impression that you're not reliable.
Yeah,
So the brand is not your logo. Some people spend thousands of dollars just creating a
making the
logo.
logo. Correct.
It is not your website. It is not your content. It is not the way you speak. But if your attitude is poor, people are not going to take you seriously.
Yeah,
You
the
see,
character.
so because when I sometimes people call me and they say they want to collaborate with me, I said okay. I asked them, do you trust me? They said, yeah, we do. So I asked them, do you want me to do draft an agreement? They said, if you want to. I say, if you want to, I can do it. But with me, you don't need to have an agreement. Because for me, I just say this: my word is my bond.
Yeah, my word is my bond.
So, and I, I hold on to that.
Yeah,
But if you
yeah,
want an agreement to be on the safe side, fine. So, because you see, that is our attitude. What is your attitude? If your is your attitude one of trust, you keep your commitments. You borrow people's money. You say you're going to return it, return it. And if you don't have the money, at least call and have the courtesy to say, I don't have the
yeah,
money now. Can I do it?
yeah,
Can I? So that is an attitude, isn't it?
yeah,
It's
yeah. You are
so
you are
much.
what you should be what you say you are, and this is a very important thing what you've brought up, right? Because now with branding, we have personal branding and things like that. And I always
Yeah,
tell my students or my coaches, right? I say you can build this brand, you can make your banner beautiful, and you can make your whole LinkedIn profile look nice, and you can come up with posts and things like that. But if you don't walk the talk, right? You don't embody what you're talking about. And I recently met someone which I was so disappointed, Jay. I was so disappointed because I religiously followed him. Like the kind of person you eat, the person you went to, try to get a job from. You eat on the every word because you feel like, wow, so inspiring what this person has to say. Like he's so inspiring. He opens up my mind, and this is the way he thinks, and he's building something amazing. And then you meet the person, it's like someone took a pin and just burst your bubble,
fine.
because they are nothing like what they don't embody what they are.
Mm.
And some people
Or
have
what they make out to be like,
told me, oh, Cheryl, you are a doer, you do the work on the ground. I'm like, what's wrong with that? What I say I do.
Mm. Yeah,
you
yeah.
know it's
Mm.
better than living on an ivory tower up there and not really embodying what you are talking about, because that's the thing with branding, right?
Mm.
The slack part about branding is you can lie to someone. If you have, I always say, right, because I'm from a PR background, I say I can have the gift of the gap. I can sit and lie to my treat from beginning to end because I know how to speak. But
That's
that
it.
doesn't mean that I will do that because I have integrity. But understanding that I know other people can do that, because I know if I want to, I can do it. But what holds you down is that soul you have, your anchor, right?
Right.
Your attitude, as you said, right? What is your brand that is important to you? And it shouldn't just be what people see on the outside. It should be
Exactly.
something you embody, you live by it. I mean, if you talk about religion, it's the same as well, right? Don't call yourself a Christian if you don't really hold by those principles, right? You say you hold by those principles, but you live. It's not what you say; it's what you demonstrate that makes you who you
Absolutely.
are.
as they say, your actions speak so loud, I can't hear what you say.
Yes, yes, yes. People know
People,
who you are eventually.
yeah,
Something you
yeah.
can't really lie. Eventually, it's gonna, your true colors are going to show.
You cannot keep it
Eventually.
from. In Tamil, we used to say, you cannot hide a pusinika in a in a pot of rice. Pusinika is like a pumpkin, not a pumpkin.
Yeah,
One of those.
yeah.
So it's like this, lah. I mean, as is, Abraham Lincoln said, you can lie to some people some of the time, but you cannot.
Lie all the time.
Say you can lie to all the people some of the time, and you can lie to some of the people all the time, or some people all the time, or you can lie to some people all the time. So you can lie to all people some of the time, but you cannot lie to all the people all the time.
Yeah, yeah.
Somebody finds out, and there goes
Your
your whole.
lie will catch up with you eventually.
Yeah. But I always say, if you're always lying, I say you better have a good memory.
That would help, I'm sure. But it
So
will
come,
catch up with you. It will catch up with you eventually because you don't know what is a lie and what is reality anymore. You've told it so often to yourself, you don't even know which is which,
correct. Yes,
you
exactly.
know?
So that's what
Yeah.
I had in mind when I put that post.
Your attitude is.
Uh, yeah, some people did resonate. They said it resonated with them, and then they commented. It's good.
Yeah, yeah, that's something that's been going on in my head, for a while now about that, like you should be what you say you are,
Right,
and not the opposite. If not, you don't embody that, and then who are you really? And these days, with employers, with people who are speakers and things like that, people put them up at a certain level because they expect you to embody what you say, right? So those elements are very important. But as an employee or as a person who's following someone, we shouldn't do it blindly as well
very
because
much.
not everyone is what they say they are. You really need to find out who are the people behind the profile. And that's what this show is all about, right? Is
Right,
getting people like you to come and inspire freedom from within everyone else, right? Like, but the freedom shouldn't come from just Jaya, it should come from yourself. See what Jaya has done with himself, right? And how can you now inspire that freedom within you? Thank you so much,
yeah.
Jaya. Thank you so much for saying
Thank you,
yes.
Cheryl, for the opportunity. I really, really appreciate it. I really had fun. Most importantly, your
Yeah.
questions, and the way we are talking is just wonderful.
It's a
Thank you
nice,
so much
really
for this
love,
opportunity.
love the chit chat. Thank you so much. Thanks everyone for tuning in. So Jaya, just hold on. Meet you backstage. You take care.
Sure.
Okay, good night everyone. Bye.
Bye. Good night, everybody.